afternoon, everyone. I am Sierra Hall with the State Department of Education, the Office of Federal and State Accountability. Specifically, I am your Innovation and Support Team Leader, which really means I just approve absences in our little absence portal. I'm doing our presentation today on connecting the dots between strategic school renewal plans and Title I plans. Hopefully, I'm going to help you guys help the core bless the principles, draw some conclusions between all the paperwork that's out there. A little bit about me. I taught special education for 5 years, became an administrator. I've been middle school principal, high school principal, and an alternative school principal. There's nothing you can do that I haven't seen, heard, or smelled. Nope. Every word in the book I've heard. You can see that one. I was telling my colleagues a minute ago, even the naked 5-year-old running around in the kindergarten classroom. I was like, oh Lord. Nothing you can do to surprise me at this point. Today I'm going to be talking about the laws in the district as it relates to ESSA laws and state laws and connecting those dots. Title plans, the strategic plans, and connecting those dots, and the future of ESSA and DSSR and connecting those dots. So hopefully you will connect some dots to see the alignment today. Let's talk about the laws in the district. Let's talk about school districts in general. The school district is responsible for the whole entire system. So I want you to think of it as an umbrella. And everything fits under that umbrella. Schools fit under the umbrella. Bus transportation fits under the umbrella. Nutrition fits under the umbrella. Your title plans fit under the umbrella. Special ed fits under the umbrella. Waivers, competency-based education, PBS plans, all fit under the umbrella. District, all schools, everybody reports to the district umbrella. And that's one thing we need to start thinking of and changing our thinking when we're looking at this, because right now we're working in silos. Absolute silos. As a former principal, I did not know Title II existed. Nobody Title I. I knew about it because I know $50,000. Figured it out real quick. Nobody told me Title II existed. Nobody told me Title III existed. I'm going to call it Title IV. There's no Title V existed. I didn't know these things until I got to the age and said, there was more money on the table than nobody told me about. You don't know that as a principal. Nobody tells these things. So hopefully I can change your thinking and think bigger in how your bodies to get better results. So what does ESSA say? ESSA says involve parents in an organized, ongoing, and timely way in the planning, review, and improvement of programs under this part, including the parent and family engagement policy and joint development of the school-wide plan. So in the blue there is what the COM team is looking for when they come out to monitor. They're looking for evidence of a plan review process with the families and parents playing an active role. And they're looking for evidence of dissemination to your families and communities. So ESSA says they want parents involved. Okay? ESSA also says the LEA, Family Engagement Policy, is developed and agreed upon by family members and parents and distributed to all families and parents. Policy must include how the LEA will develop a Title I plan, build capacity to improve academic achievement, coordinate other programs, include evidence-based strategies, and review this policy annually. The COM team is looking for, down in the blue, evidence of annual review with family and parent engagement, certifications of meetings, list of attendees, meeting minutes, agendas, and parent comments, and evidence that the policy is distributed to parents. Once again, they're looking for a development of a plan that includes parents and stakeholders. As it says, parents and children receiving services are involved in decisions regarding how parent and family engagement funds are allotted for the parent and family engagement activities. Again, we're looking for the meeting agenda, sign-in sheets, notes, and so forth. South Carolina State Law 59-2060 says that state law outlines that each school board will establish an improvement council within each school district. The school council must include 2 parents, 2 teachers, 2 students if they're in high school, and a community representative. They shall assist in the preparation of the strategic renewal plan, also known as the DSSR, and they shall provide advice on how to use the grant funds. Grant funds are your title funds. So, if ESSA says, stakeholder. Say South Carolina says you've got stakeholders. ESSA says you got to develop this plan. South Carolina says you got the same group has got to approve this plan. Why can it not be the same folks? And the answer is it can. It's real easy. All you have to deal with the meeting minutes, like where you talking about Title I? No. SIC/Title I. I was talking about these things together with my parents. I was in this particular district, in this locale. All of my parents worked at Amazon. We were on shift work. I could come in and do meetings at 9 o'clock at night. I rotated with the shift at Amazon. What I had to do to keep my parents involved. But it was the same group, they appreciate the efficiency. If I'm going to be talking about $250,000 over here in Title, we're going to be able to make sure it belongs to something I've got going on over here in my strategic renewal plan. We'll get to that more in just a second. So the plans. Let's look at them against each other. The DSSR has to have a comprehensive needs assessment. That is required by law. Your title plan must have a comprehensive needs assessment. Your goals. You have to have an academic achievement goal, at least one. One teacher admin goal. One school climate goal and other priorities, and then the GT plan for your district. Your Title I plans must have goals. Title I has to deal with student achievement. Title II deals with teacher admin quality. Title III is your ML learners. Title IV is well-rounded. Title V is rural. Action steps. Here are the action steps and funding sources in your strategic renewal plan. Do the same thing in your title plan. In the strategic renewal plan, you've got to have a meeting agenda, minutes, and assignment sheet. You have to do the same thing for your title plan. SIC provides advice on how to use the title funds. Parents must be consulted on how to use the title funds. The district approves all plans. School improvement tells you how to use the title funds. So let's connect the dots. Why don't we write one good common needs assessment one time? Why is it when I look at your plans from the DSSR standpoint, because I'm curious to pull up your Title I, and your principal writes one jam up, fantastic DSSR plan. And the title plan under here, 5 actions. What does that have to do with improving your EAG? Now, I can make an argument. I can argue main interest. I bought it. I did it. I'm invested. It had nothing to do with improving the reading scores of my building, but I did it. Why can't we write it one time in a Word document? Copy and paste that back and forth for all the plans that are in that program you got to write. You can, and you should. They should all ride together. Sitting over here with your parents and coming up with a plan, you say, this is how we're going to educate our babies. Here's the money, and how we're going to fund it. Write specific goals and detailed action steps in your strategic renewal plan. It is required that you write action steps on what you're going to do to meet that goal. Why are you not taking those same action steps, putting it out there in your title stuff? It is the same exact thing. Right? You have to write a funding source in your school renewal plan. You get down to the exact dollars that the finance team is asking for. Generally, it costs us about $10. For me, I went from stateside house to fantastic. Things like that people thought about it. You get over here to the DSS, you get over here to the Title I plan, it made $10,132. $132, that's what that is. You got to take that extra $2 here and there and put it in something you're right? All I need to know is a roundabout figure that you thought about. So why not make it all connect? It should. Fund the plan, not plan the fund. Say that again. Fund the plan, not plan the fund. Personal experience. Nobody told me I could marry those two meetings together. Nobody told me I could marry those two plans together. I finally figured it out. My student achievement took off next year. Struggle. Hey, that makes sense that I can run it all together. Boom. We just take off, have another silver right out there. All I did was connect two plans. Plan, fund the plan, not plan the fund. We should not see great things over here and you won't manage. Make those things talk to each other. Let's talk about the future. So State Superintendent Weaver says, as our goal, every child is college and career or military ready by 2030, with 75% of our students are at or above grade level. Is your district at 75%? No. Where I came from, we weren't either. The Office of Federal and State Accountability, the Consolidated Finance and Application Team, Innovation and Support Team, and Consolidated Oversight Elementary team will be asking questions about the return on investment. You heard about Tiffany talk about that this morning. To meet the goals, we'll be asking deeper questions about that title. What are you doing? Why have you spent this much money and you don't have to move? If we're all going to meet this goal for the study superintendent as she has outlined, then our plans must align to each other so we are moving that needle. So let's talk about some examples. The district spends $500,000 over 5 years on the ABC reading program. After 5 years, no movement. Why are you doing it? You know what pays me more than anything also in business? You know how painful it is every month to write checks to the federal government and pay taxes? And then to turn around and see your plans, and in 5 years you spent $500,000 and it didn't go anywhere? Wow. Field trips. Now, I like a good field trip, don't get me wrong. Martha, go look at field trip really hard. Yes. Always. You're not going to be able to go down to the Pirates of the Caribbean thing down at the beach and count that as a field trip for some sort of cultural experience. It doesn't want to work, right? Right. Caribbean's on Physics Day on May 15th isn't going to work for a field trip. Their little worksheet they do is not going to qualify for a physics lesson. The real question we're going to ask is what is essential for this field trip and standard? How does this field trip close the gap in the instruction? Explain to me why we need to take kids to Carowinds that you can't explain with a tennis ball and, I don't know, some sort of Lego block thing. What is it about that field trip that connects? What about that field trip that the teacher's missing in the classroom that she can't have come out of her mouth or some sort of example? You're going to go on a field trip, maybe you could. The Lord, please don't go to Carowinds on Physics Day. It's not going to work. Huh? Not without money, we're going to save money. No. A district or school has little to no actual growth. So what is the school district going to do to support those expectations? How are you funding your plan? What are the barriers to growth? Have you done a deep dive in that CNA assessment? Have you really looked at it? My colleague Pat was saying something the other day. He used to be superintendent of Ohio, and he said they took a deep dive and looked. There was a certain school where you had certain teachers in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. By third grade, you were tested for special ed and qualified. If you were in that order. And it took them a year to figure that out. So why is it an education model? He had to break that up. He had to move teachers around. Now, some of them were blessed that hard, and they're 30 years, and everybody wants to have this, what I'm talking about, everybody's got one. But it took a deeper dive to understand that if those kids had that order of teachers, then their kids were going to be in special ed. So what are we going to do to change that? That was a barrier. Another barrier he had, he said it at his high school. He had a resource teacher that taught math and the content. And the math teacher, when he went in to do the observation, he said, math's not my strong suit. I didn't realize that because that wasn't follow the standards and didn't allow it to work somehow like that. Every kid in that classroom failed the assessment. He said the district as a whole had a 90% passage rate, except for the special ed kids. They took those same group of kids, put them in a high flyer math class called the special ed teacher and co-teaching with two teachers. All 18 kids passed that assessment. Found there were barriers going on. Are you digging deep and asking those tough questions? I used to have an assistant superintendent, Marcella Shaw, and she would say when we come into principal's meeting, she had to go out the door. Yes, we are using principals. We had to check out the veto at the door because it was about the tougher conversations. What are we going to do to move that needle? If your district has a score of 90% on a success goal, why are we continuing to do it? Help me understand that one. I see it. I get it. It's easy to check off on the plan. But if the plan's a living plan and you're looking at it every single day, why haven't you chosen a new goal? Your team of third grade teachers are rock and rolling at 90%. That train's on a roll whether you have an eighth, whether you have a goal or not. So why not move on to something else? Particular middle school, they use PLC process. They have their way of doing things. When you walk into that middle school, they have been the National School of Watch for 15 years. They are a machine. They know how to get it done. You walk into the know how to get it done. And when we first implemented, when I first started in that building as assistant principal, we implemented it, they looked at me like we lost our minds. And then they came back from Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they said, my husband said I was president during the holidays. Everything we had put into place to make them a machine, now other people were noticing. That's why we walk in now and we can't even play with, because they're not going back to the old way. They have 90% success rate. They strut, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, when you're performing that high, let's move on to other areas that you can target. The school purchases band funds with via Title I funds. Now, although this is a allowable expense, does it relate? It doesn't. I can argue that the little babies need the band instruments. I get it. They can't qualify for credit check because they can only try to run an instrument. I get it. But it's not going to move the needle. Is there a better fit for these, whether it's Title IV or Title V? Once again, your principals don't know these other funds exist. Karen and I were talking before we came in. Why aren't we taking our principals, putting our ESSR plan and our title money all on the table, and having one big district discussion about it? It's outside of the box thinking, because right now we're in silos. Give me your $100,000, break your brain, if it works. Why not take it all and put it on the table and have a better conversation? Look at those plans in depth. Principal, why are you paying for band instruments here? Pull that out. Let me put this over on another plan with you instead. I'm not even going to focus on, let's go get that plan across the finish line. Meet that 75% goal that the state superintendent outlined. District and school purchases social workers via Title I funds. This is an allowable expenditure, but how does it relate to your district and climate goals? Is there a better fit for this? Same thing. Is there a better place to put this? How are we using those funds? Conferences, one of my favorites. How does attending a conference beat the teacher and quality admin goal? Make sure your time away from the building speaks to student growth. The previous district I was in, we had a strict rule about traveling. Couldn't go above the Mason-Dixon, couldn't go below Orlando, couldn't go any further east than Myrtle Beach, couldn't go any further west than the Mississippi. If it didn't fit in the southeastern conference region, you didn't go. And yes, I wanted to do something in another state, like past Mississippi, let's call the ways where it came to the East Coast. It's about perception that's out there. It looks bad when you're taking 30 people all the way over to San Francisco. What's the bang for the buck? How are you going to make that time away from the building? What is in San Francisco that's so fantastic that's going to change the numbers and the results you're getting on your state assessments? Parent and family engagement nights, things we see. What data are you looking for to show your parents are engaging in parent and family engagement nights? Doing some sort of survey? I was telling somebody just a minute ago, I always had sign-in sheets at every engagement night. I had more Title I meetings than you could ever want to imagine. My parents were trained. They walked in the door, signed in a sheet. They got a little program that showed their child's name or picture. You didn't get one until you signed in. Everything was a Title I meeting. Because in between the band concert, band kids coming off, and chorus kids coming up, I got on stage. Let me tell you about we're doing Title I. Let me tell you everything that was fun. Let me tell you what you're going to perform. They got that next week. Save the system. Tie it all together. I had more meetings than you could ever imagine. But that's how I tied it all together, was making sure that I connected when the parents walked in the building. What are you doing to bridge those gaps between the school and the family and parent engagement events? One thing I did was I took my tag, and we went on a parade in the neighborhood at the beginning of the year. My family was very involved in that experience. We had to bridge that gap together. Then sometimes we went out and paraded, got 2 or 3 years, we did that, and then it started becoming an issue. Parents became more relaxed about it. Because we saw them where they came from, they saw us in a relaxed mode. We put money in that bank before we had to make a withdrawal. Your parent and family engagement night should be tied to your goals. Literacy night, math night. What are you doing to bring those families together? Teach them about strategies of what's going on in your classroom. Leslie, I know we talked about this yesterday. But you set those parents up to, what's going on for the next unit. It's not that they don't care. Yes, and give you that perception that they don't care. They really do care. They just don't know. It's called the new math. My brother and sister-in-law, prime examples. I get all the questions from my two nieces about math. My brother and sister-in-law said, it's new math, it's new math. No, it's not. Old math. Just a new way of thinking about it. Could you put YouTube videos out there? Hey, parents, now we're going to do something new in math this week. We've got a new way of looking at such and such. Go look at these two YouTube videos to help you understand what's going on. Then you'll be able to help your kids. I've had to do it. It's been a while since I've done algebraic expressions. Had to look. And once I figured out what we're supposed to do, I get my nieces on FaceTime, talk them through what the issues are, get them straight back on the path. But what are you doing to tie those things together? Literacy night. You know, what do you? Sometimes we see in the elementary school presenting books on. Make sure parents spend time with those kids. Some science of Olympiad nights where parents and kids had to work together as a family to do all these minute-to-minute things. Of course, we're working on STEM goals. It was also creating that family bond, that family engagement. So connecting dots. Planning, all planning begins with a good strategic plan. That is due April 30th. That's where that stuff starts. Check all your egos at the door. You're having those tough conversations. Have them. They're not comfortable. I'm sorry that they're not comfortable. But some of our teachers are not doing what they need to do in the classroom. Have a tough conversation about all the funds. We've got to get out of these silos. You've got to tell your core suite principals who don't know that there are other ways to fund this besides what they're doing. What is the return on the taxpayer's investment? Y'all heard Tiffany talk about that this morning. That's another question that's going to be coming from our office. Once again, how are you spending that money? How did you improve student outcomes? So as we look at your DSSR plans, you have your baseline data of where you are and where you want to go, and then all of a sudden you start seeing you going the opposite direction on year 2 and year 3. You're going to ask that question, what's going on? Why are you on backslide? Whether there are lots of issues, but until you have that conversation, you don't know how to help or how to use those funds. And how is your district system meeting superintendent weekly goals? Yeah, y'all got new superintendents that come in, but they've all said 75%. What are we going to do to get there? So this is my team. We've got 2 new people coming on pretty soon in June and July. So we'll have a full team, which will be fantastic. But Devetta and Pat are also my partners in crime. We'll be able to answer any questions you have. But speaking of questions, what questions do you have for me on any of these topics? All quiet. Scared to ask, or we just got to get something? You sitting on the files over administrative sat there and had took me to that, sitting in a meeting going, elementary buddy on my right, what page is that? I'm on page 2. My middle school document says something different. High school buddy, what are you on? I'm on page 9. Superintendent, I'm on the document. I finally said one day in a principal's meeting, my fellow was up talking about this plan and that plan. I need a plan on the plan. So SR plan, I got a Title I plan. I've got a PP plan. I've got a Regency plan. I need a plan on the plan so I can function. Why can't this all be one? We just got to make it smarter, not harder. That's what What else? Do you have a template that facilitates that? Kind of sort of yes. I've taken a template, I've used it for my district already, well, training that goes with it, I'm using that we did with it. When into a district, we have to look at each one of their goals individually, what's working, what's not working, and what we need to change to make this thing before, how to make it work. Because I have a little bit of template. With that being said, guys, we come out and do training. This not a big deal for me to hop in around the park or all over the reservoir. Going to Cherokee, and you'll spend all day up in Cherokee. Perfectly fine with me. And our Kenny's barely sitting out with like 10 people. That's the call center. Yes. You like it? I like it.
For OLE, one thing that we suggest that might be helpful is you take your continuous improvement plan, you put all your action steps on your continuous improvement plan, and then you just put your funding sources. So you put this funding source is going to and this funding source is, you know, your CSI or ATSI or GOF or whatever, and then you know you have, because as we're saying, your action steps are going to be the same. And, you know, it's right there. Plan. Every school needs a continuous plan every single year, regardless of designation, whatever. So, you know, if you just start from there, and then you can have, you know, your plans all in one place.
As you said, you know, coming from a different state, the school renewal plan. I think the terminology, you renew it every year, should be a continuous improvement plan. Sometimes it's that vocabulary that we don't really connect on that. I was telling you, I'm used to anything on that school renewal plan, and then it should go and drop into any format, any plan that someone else has there. If it was that important. And look at how you need it, but
There's a lot of things out there, right?
correct. If it's that
Pull off the shelf, you dust it off, you put a couple of lines, pull a check in, and send it to you because you did what we asked you to do to be compliant. Right? Anybody can be compliant, but start pushing it.
Correct.
And as former principal, when I had kids that I had on adults come in and they said, oh, I want to try this idea. You get to buy one food, make this, you do this and that, and the other. First thing I did was sit that plan on the desk. Tell me how it meets those goals, and then we'll talk. Back and we got it figured out. Don't come at me if it doesn't something in this plan. Once it's all figured out, then we start seeing results. Because we were connected all together. Hard to break and then have that plan on hand. Now, by the way, we read on the staff, so figure it out. What else?
Get practice smart already about the SIC just doesn't mean everyone's left.
Yes.
But I really heard a lot today over and over that if it's not working, what are you doing? And if it is working, we're so long to change that. So I'm really going to
Several folks have asked too, what happens on 1 year 3 and it's not working? Tell me it's not working. Strike that sucker out. Draw a line. If you're on a template, draw a line. Strike it out. Strike through work straight line. Right across the page. Then write in your executive summary what you did. This plan wasn't working. We've done it 3 years of it. 3 years it's falling on its face. We're not doing it anymore. Fantastic. Do something else. It's that easy. It's not having to go reinvent the whole entire plan. This activity didn't work. We met this activity. We're moving on to the next thing. That was the world. Fantastic. Wrong. That's the point of it. It's not just we got 5 years. I'm ready to get there. No, let's get there in 1. Let's get there in 2. Think we do. Strike it out. Put something else in it. Keep rolling. Then the whole system right from this thing 5 years later. If it's not working, don't do it. That's a hard sell, especially when you've got personnel tied up in this. That's a hard look at somebody and go, you gotta go. It's not working. But it's what you have to do. All right, guys, so that was us.
One thing that's a little difficult, I think, is also the deadlines of these different plans.
Yes.
A little
I was frustrated at the first one on the timeline, only because I didn't realize they all connected. When I got to, they were all connected, that timeline, moving from one step to the other became a blur. Because I was working on updating that DSSR long before, not long before the instructional officer came in with, don't do this, oh my God, you're already something. It was being done along the way. Because my planning for Title I started in January. And that started in November. I knew there were things they wanted to accomplish going into the next year. Then we bring the stakeholders in. We start having that conversation. We're looking at budget priorities, what's working in our DSSR, what's not working in our DSSR. We're having that conversation in January, February. So when we get to March, spreadsheet that I had that we were always looking at, we were starting to put in numbers. And the things we couldn't afford, we put on the parking lot to wait. And once we finished that plan as a group, by the time it was due, my DSSR was done, submitted. Then shot the rest of the Title I that had to be submitted to the district office, had my parking lot. One thing they didn't tell me about, I call it the October surprise, they call it, what is it, rollover money, carryover money, you know, I think it works for the allocation. I call it the October surprise. All of a sudden, I saw my federal director walks in and goes, by the way, thank you $30,000 we submitted in 60 days. How that works. And I went, rich. Because I already spent $260,000 until I realized that I had parking lot out of this. I didn't have to call my parents off on Amazon to come in and have a meeting because I had it sitting over here. I spent that $30,000 real quick, sent an email to my parents. This is what we did. I used the parking lot list. This is what we got accomplished. We moved on. Then my $30,000 became $40,000 because I spent that. That started to increase. That guess who was getting problem solved? Who did it work out for? My kids. Okay. But I had to work smarter. And I had to realize that there was process, the SSR, Title I, certain parking lots, there was price, ongoing, over, just repeats itself over and over. Still principals have that epiphany. It all comes together, it runs together. You see it one mother, don't ever do it. I don't know, smack around a little bit. Actually, I was thinking about a whole sheet, whole bed sheet, how it's folded, and then somebody takes it over the full little pot, like the one pot. What else? What's been fun? I know it's here today. I want to do that earlier, but I'm not. I people out.